All right, folks, it's 5 p.m., so why don't we go ahead and get our meeting started. Welcome to the Kiki Saavedra Community Center. I'm Michael Cadigan. I'm the attorney for Universal Waste Systems Incorporated, which has applied for a solid waste facility permit for a transfer station on Broadway, down the street and on the left. Scott McKittrick and Matthew Earthman from Sauer Miller and Associates are here to talk about the community impact assessment that the Secretary of the Environment ordered us to prepare. So I'm going to ask them to give an overview of the document, and the purpose of this meeting is to both transmit to you information about the CIA and to receive feedback, comment, proposed mitigation, etc. So we'll go ahead and get started.
My name is Scott McKittrick. I'm a principal scientist with Sauer Miller and Associates. We're the engineer and permitting contractor for Universal Waste Systems, and so we prepared the solid waste facility operating permit application, and then we also prepared this community impact assessment that we're going to be talking about tonight. With me is Matt Earthman.
A senior geoscientist at Sauer Miller Associates, and Scott mentioned I helped prepare the community impact assessment.
So as we go, if I have a tendency, you can hear me now in like 3 minutes. You're going to be going, so just wave at me if you can't hear me, or come closer, whatever you're comfortable doing, and I'll do my best to holler at you. So, Universal Waste Systems Broadway Transfer Station. A little background, UWS submitted the application for the solid waste operating permit, including the public notice last year, I believe. It was deemed administratively complete by the New Mexico Environment Department's Solid Waste Bureau, and the Solid Waste Bureau scheduled a hearing on the permit application. The hearing was completed in April of 2024, and as a result of that hearing, the Secretary of the New Mexico Environment Department required that this community impact assessment be completed, as well as this meeting for community input on the permit application. Would you like a copy of this document? Of course. And there's a sign-in sheet.
Yeah, there's a sign-in sheet on the rolling card in the back if you'd like to sign in, and there's copies of the cumulative impact statement on the front desk. Feel free to take one.
So the site is located at 5520 Broadway Boulevard Southeast. It's proposed to be a transfer station where surface street solid waste collection vehicles will transport solid waste to the transfer station, where the solid waste will be consolidated into larger highway trailers for transport to the landfills. Basically, this minimizes the number of trips of vehicles that go to the landfills. The solid waste to be received by the facility is going to be average 800 tons a day with a maximum of 1,200 tons per day. All solid waste transfer will be completed inside the site structure. The solid waste is from only commercial and municipal sources. There'll be no place for residents to drop solid waste at the facility. So as I said, the Secretary of the Environment Department required that we complete this community impact assessment. The requirements were that this assessment evaluate cumulative and individual impacts of the proposed facility. It defined that the study area for the assessment is within 4 miles of the facility, so a 4-mile radius around the facility. And the specific issues that were required to be evaluated include land use, historical and cultural resources, visual and scenic resources, air quality, including odors and dust, socioeconomic and environmental justice, including population, demographic profile, education, age, language, occupational profile, and household income. Transportation, unavoidable adverse environmental impacts, short-term, intermediate term, and long-term impacts, and a summary of reasonable mitigation measures to address facility adverse impact. And like I said, if you'd like a copy of the report, there's one here. And if anybody has questions as I go, feel free to just holler out or raise your hand, whatever you're comfortable with. So I'm going to start with land use. The property is zoned M1 light industrial. The property has an approved special use permit from Bernalillo County for use of the transfer station. The use of the property as a transfer station is consistent with adjacent properties and the zoning. The land use needs study area, in order of area, the different types of land use. The largest is planned community, specifically Mesa del Sol. The next largest is open space. The next is rural agricultural. The next largest is manufacturing. The next largest is residential. And the smallest land use is utilities and transportation, specifically the Albuquerque International Center. Distances to specific property types. The nearest school is Mountain View Elementary, which is 3/4 of a mile to the northwest. The nearest hospital or medical facility is Presnow Urgent Care Facility, 2.5 miles west of the proposed transfer station. The nearest institution is the JB CDL Training School, 0.32 miles to the northwest. The nearest church is the Franciscan Church, 1.9 miles to the northwest. And the nearest residence is in the Mountain View community, 0.6 miles to the west. Development plans for the area were determined based on review of publicly available funding and planning information in the City of Albuquerque, Bernalillo County, and New Mexico Department of Transportation. What we were able to find as far as development plans include 9 roadway projects in the study area. Those projects are detailed in the report. In terms of individual impacts, the facility land use is consistent with approved zoning and the special use permit with no anticipated impact to land use in the study. Historical and cultural resources. The transfer station site, cultural resources survey was conducted with no cultural resources located during the study. Within the study area, 4-mile radius around the site, the only cultural site present is the old Albuquerque Municipal Airport building, located 3 miles north of the facility. Given these few cultural historical sites, we predict no impact to historical and cultural resources. Visual and scenic resources for the facility and adjacent properties. The structure on the proposed transfer station will be a 25-foot high, 25,000 square foot structure visible from Broadway and I-25. The structure is consistent with adjacent properties. In the study area, visual and scenic resources include the Rio Grande open space area, the Valle del Oro National Wildlife Refuge, open undeveloped desert landscape east of the property, and the views of the Sandia and Montana Mountains. The facility will have a minor impact to the views of landscape from mountain front from Broadway Boulevard from the south of the facility looking to the northeast. Air quality, including odors and dust. Short-term impacts. Construction of the facility will have minor short-term adverse impacts to air quality during construction from earth-moving equipment generating dust and vehicle emissions. Dust will be mitigated through the use of best management plans, including wetting of the roads and the work areas during construction. Intermediate and long-term impacts will be limited because all transfer operations will be completed inside the building. all roads will be paved. There'll be limited impacts from odors because all transfer operations will again be completed inside the building, and no solid waste will be stored on site for an extended period. The facility will have a beneficial impact on air quality generally. At maximum capacity, the facility is expected to have 244 vehicles per day entering and exiting. The traffic counts on Broadway Boulevard, which are from 2017, which is the most recently available at the facility, indicate that 11,881, an average of 11,881 vehicles utilize Broadway Boulevard daily. Therefore, the maximum increase of traffic will be 2% for local traffic. And then, as I described when I started out, the transfer station, the purpose of it is to minimize collection vehicles, the number of transportation vehicles, to minimize the number of collection vehicles transporting waste to the landfill by use of larger transfer trailers, which will cause a net decrease of 18 to 22% of emissions from waste transfer to the landfill. Socioeconomics and environmental justice, population history and projections. So approximately 41,500 people reside within the 10 census tracts that are at least partially within the study area. While EPA's environmental justice mapper indicates the population of the study area is 28,000. The reason for the difference is the census tracts are larger, so there's census tracts that are partly inside the 4-mile radius and partly outside. So the 48,000 number is the 41,000 number is an overestimation of the number of residents in the area. Population growth is projected at 0.1% annually through 2035, then decreasing through 2050. The race and ethnicity profile within the study area is 80% identified as Hispanic or Latino, 16% identify as white, 1% identify as American Indian, 1% identify as African American, 1.5% as 2 or more races, 0.4% as other race alone, and 0.1% identify as Asian or Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander. Approximately 54% of the population speak only English, approximately 44% speak Spanish, and approximately 16% of the population do not speak English very well. Age groups and gender. The median age is 38.8 years. The gender or sex ratio is 51% female, 49% male. The occupational profile, the unemployment rate of the census tracts in the study area is 5.26% unemployment, which is slightly less than Bernalillo County as a whole, which is 5.3%. Household income, the median annual household income of the study area is $54,346, while the New Mexico overall average is $62,125, and the Bernalillo County median annual household income is $66,514.
This one's broken.
Environmental justice. This term is defined by the U.S. EPA as the fair treatment and meaningful involvement of all people, regardless of race, color, national origin, or income, with respect to the development, implementation, and enforcement of environmental laws, regulations, and policies. Our traditional source of environmental justice information is the EPA Environmental Justice Mapping Tool, which was taken offline in February of this year by the EPA. And so therefore, SMA used a copy of the database, which is hosted by a third-party organization with data that was current as of the date of decommissioning of the website. So as I said before, according to the EJ mapping tool, the population in the study area is approximately 28,000 people. 81% of residents self-identify as Latino or Hispanic. 8 of 10 census blocks within the study area are considered disadvantaged communities, which is defined as 65% or more of households in the area are at or below twice the federal poverty level and experience at least one additional environmental burden, such as elevated air pollution. Socioeconomic impacts of the proposed facility. The proposed project has potential to provide short, intermediate, and long-term minor beneficial impacts to socioeconomics within the study area through employment opportunities. Transportation. The facility and adjacent transportation corridors, so transportation related to the facility itself and adjacent transportation corridors. At maximum capacity, the facility is expected to have 244 vehicles per day entering and exiting.
Can you speak up a little bit, please?
Sure. And if you feel comfortable coming closer, you're welcome to.
Okay.
At maximum capacity, the facility is expected to have 244 vehicles per day entering and exiting. Traffic counts from 2017, which is the most recent available, indicate 11,881 vehicles utilize Broadway Boulevard daily. This relates to a maximum increase of traffic of 2% for local traffic. This will result in a minor adverse impact to local traffic. In the study area and metropolitan area, the use of transfer trailers instead of collection vehicles to transport solid waste to the landfill represents a decrease of 18 to 22% in total miles driven by waste handling equipment. This will result in a minor beneficial impact. Unavoidable adverse environmental impact in the proposed facility. There'll be short-term minor adverse impacts to air quality and traffic resulting from construction. There will be intermediate and long-term minor adverse impacts to air quality near the facility resulting from increased traffic. There will be intermediate and long-term minor adverse impacts to transportation near the facility resulting from increased traffic. There will be short, intermediate, and long-term minor adverse impacts to visual and scenic resources in the Sandia Mountains as viewed from a very limited area proximal to the Broadway transfer station. Beneficial effects. There will be short-term beneficial economic and employment effects from the facility construction. There will be intermediate and long-term beneficial economic and employment effects from approximately 40 full-time jobs. And there'll be intermediate and long-term beneficial effects on air quality and regional transportation through less waste handling vehicles used to transport solid waste.
Sorry.
The avoidance, minimization, and mitigation measures for air quality will be effectively minimized through use of best management practices as outlined in the facility operating plan, including minimization of dust generated through paving of roads and conducting activities inside the facility, minimization of odors through conducting activities inside the facility, and through containerization and prompt removal of solid waste. visual and scenic resources, facility will well maintained and regulated as per the operations plan, and will be consistent with surrounding construction. Transportation will be conducted in accordance with all local, state, and federal regulations. That is a summary of the community impact assessment.
So at this time, we'll take questions, comments, and any ideas from the community regarding mitigation of environmental impacts. Does anybody have any? Yes, sir. Do you mind stating your name, please?
My name is David Barber. I'm a 30-year resident of Mountain View neighborhood, and I have several questions for you. To start with, you're using 2017 traffic study information. That's 8-year-old information. I've lived in this neighborhood 30 years. I can tell you that it's already well over the 2% increase that you're talking about. And if you're going to add that, what's the way?
So the 2% increase is 244 additional vehicles per day relative to the 2017 data is 2%. If you've got more traffic on Broadway, the 244 will actually be a lower percentage increase.
Okay, I misunderstood what you said.
Oh, my apologies.
You list a 18 to 22% reduction for emissions due to basically the control of the trips. That's hard for me to get my hands around because those trucks would be not necessarily going through this neighborhood to get to where they're going to dump. And you're going to concentrate all of those that are going to would not originally be going through this neighborhood in this neighborhood. So I question your percentage.
The 18 to 22% decrease is a general metro-wide decrease, which is a positive.
So metro-wide,
But-
it's a decrease, but for our neighborhood, it's a major increase.
It's an increase, that's correct.
Well, and the problem with that is we historically have had very high rates of poor quality air and other issues going on in this neighborhood. And in our opinion, the local neighbors around here all feel that you're going to increase those numbers dramatically. And the Mountain View area already has an average of 11 to 15-year less life cycle than anywhere else in the city. And you're going to increase that. Again, I question the $54,346 average income. Yeah, there is some people in here with some very nice big homes, but that's not the norm.
Yeah, it wasn't the average. I think that the term I quoted was median. So
Okay, median average, okay.
And so that does represent the tracks. Some of those are within those tracks that may be outside of that 4-mile radius. We didn't have a way to differentiate, that census tract that may be intercepted. Part of that tract is inside the study area and part of it was out.
I still think that number is probably off. In the 8 to 10% residents are below the poverty level. Those are folks that, and you mentioned there's a fairly large group of folks that don't speak English or understand English poorly. Those are the folks that are going to be impacted the most by the poor air quality and the increased traffic. And I know you're talking about 244 vehicles daily in and out of one controlled site on a highway street that has a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit. The original meetings were talking about adding a right turn lane, but they did not talk about adding they talked about adding a deceleration lane, but they did not talk about adding an acceleration lane, and they did not talk about a left turn lane for the south.
okay, so I'll do my best to explain this. So the driveway permit for the facility, which was issued by the New Mexico Department of Transportation. It does include widening of the roadway through the intersection where the entrance is. So there will be 2 lanes, there will continue to be 2 lanes in each direction. And then there'll be a center lane for left-hand turns into the facility for southbound. And then there'll also be a deceleration lane for northbound vehicles turning right into the facility. So,
Well, we're not talking about motorcycles, we're talking about major trucks.
right.
And they're not gonna be able to pull out into that 55-mile-an-hour speed zone and be able to pick up speed adequately without being a problem.
What I can tell you is that the design of the driveway was done in conformance with the requirements of the New Mexico Department of Transportation.
Yes, in the back, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I had a question also about the traffic. The traffic numbers that you cite in the study say that they are derived from 2017 numbers. Yet you had something as up to date as February 2025 in this report. Why the discrepancy?
The 2017 number, those were traffic counts collected, those were the most, or closest to the facility. There have been more recent traffic counts as you insert further to the north from 2019 that did indicate an increase in traffic, I think from 11,000 to 14,000. But that was just the most recent data we could get for where the facilities.
So we can assume that for every 2 years, this report is 8 years old, for every 2 years, can we assume that there's that much increase? That takes your 11,000 trips number way the heck up.
So the number of trips entering and exiting the transfer station facility will be 244.
No, I understand that they come in and they go out, so that's twice that, am I right? 244 in, 244 out?
No,
No?
total.
That's not what you sent out in the very first,
Yes.
the very
Okay,
first,
so maybe I'm wrong.
You're correct, yeah,
Yes.
244 vehicles and they're entering and then.
and those are just vehicles that are bringing the waste to the facility. Then there are the other vehicles that they load and then those go out, in and out.
That's included, including facility employees as well.
So it's
That
facility,
includes the trucks that go up the landfill?
yeah, facility employees coming in, street collection vehicles entering and exiting, and the transfer trucks coming in and exiting to the landfill. It includes all.
So what's the actual number of trucks that will be coming in with bringing waste to the facility?
We have a total of 55 semi-truck trips per day.
That's the transfer trucks.
That's the transfer trucks.
Okay.
Side loaders, 133, and 90 front loaders, so approximately 240 total, and sorry, this is entry and exit, so 120 collection vehicles, 60 roll-offs, and then 55 semi-trucks going up to the landfill.
Ma'am, can I ask your name, please?
I'm sorry?
Could you tell me your name, please, just for the notes?
My name is Marcia Fernandez, your local community troublemaker.
Martha Fernandez. I leave out the second part. Let's see, yes, sir.
My name is Lauro Silva, and I'm a member of the Mountain Neighborhood Association, past president, but I also have been involved in a lot of the environmental concerns of the community. And I've served on the Air Quality Control Board for 4 years. I also served in the Burley County Planning Commission for 4 years. And I've been the principal investigator for Satellite Partners for Environmental Justice. And we live here in Mountain View. We're very concerned with this projection from the New Mexico Environment Department of Universal Waste. But my calculations, it's my understanding is there's going to be 468 trucks per day, ingress and egress. That's 12 hours a day, 720 minutes. And by calculations, there's a 1.53 minutes per truck. That is for 12-hour day period. And that's way beyond the scope. There's certainly, I don't know if you have anything written regarding the approval by the New Mexico Transportation Company to build the roadways that you just mentioned a while ago. We already are an overburdened community. As you may know, we're working on a sector development plan that includes parks, recreation for children, and a lot of new developments for our community. We don't need this kind of stuff in our community. We did not fight off the transfer station that's there already functioning, but to expand it to this degree, I think is a total abuse of a community that's 80 to 86% Spanish surname, and it's in your document, 80 and 81%. I could continue and continue and continue, but I don't intend to do that. We thought the meeting was going to be at 5:30, to start at 5:30, that's when we came. I thought we were early, but a lot of other folks got good word, and I appreciate everybody that's here today. There's some real concerns. It's not just we're talking about greenhouse gases, ozone, nitrous dioxide, particulate matter, volatile organic compounds. We've studied a lot of those already in the past, and we've done the research on it, but I don't think that the local and state agencies are already on board on this, but it could be. I'd like to see the documentation on that. The startup, we're talking about beneficial impacts, air quality on page, item number 3 on the introduction. The potential to decrease carbon dioxide emissions, I think that's, I don't know where you could possibly develop that kind of an insight on it. But we're talking about a low-income community, low income. We're talking about social dynamics, social impacts. The area that we're talking about is very close to this community center. I think it's 0.6 miles from the elementary school. It's about the same distance from the elementary school. We'll be exposed to not only bacterial, because you're not talking about solid walls. As far as I was told previously, you're not talking about solid walls, you're talking about plastic sheeting to block. So it's not just dust, it's going to be other kinds of bacteriological agents, viral agents. Those are the concerns we're dealing with. You see the kids out here playing out here at the community center, 0.6 miles from that site. No, not reasonable. Please put that in somewhere else, away from populations that are vulnerable. Vulnerable community. I will stop there to give other people a chance to talk, because I could go on for another half hour.
Sir, you got a question in that black hat back there? Yes, sir.
Yes,
Can you
so,
tell your name, sir?
my name is Leroy Vaughn, and I've got 3 questions. First, why did they not contract with the city to utilize their dump site since it's already there, instead of building a new site?
So if you're speaking of the convenience center that's out Bobby Foster Road, that facility is specifically for residents to drop off trash, and it's not a place where commercial haulers can come in. The city of Albuquerque has no transfer station right now. It is taking commercial or municipal haulers and consolidating into larger loads.
Okay, so why do I see their trash trucks, empty trash there on occasion, if that's not a transfer station?
I couldn't answer that. I'm not familiar with the operations. All I've done is review their permit that states that it's a convenience center.
Because that would make more sense, that, again, be able to contract with them, and because there is already a site. Second of all is, so they've been cited many times for issues there. What is going to keep this other station from doing the same thing? And I know part of it is some of the issues that they're having, and this, like you said, this is residential, is they're getting contaminants from residents, which I know is, in a sense, it's not their fault, but it still happens. And it will happen with this other company also. People just throw their paints, their solvents, their crud inside their trash cans. So, and again, one of the biggest things that we're all concerned about the most is everything is uphill from us, and all the residential is downhill. And I'm not sure if you're familiar, but there used to be, the city dump used to be where, what is it, that big community is up north? Mesa del Sol, okay? Okay, I'm a lifetime resident here, okay? The state and the city had to put water and sewage into the valley, into our area, because of the ground contamination, okay? And yes, there was, because that was 100 years ago, but there was no, concern about things leaching into the ground, okay? And again, we have, and I counted them, there's 28 junkyards in the Mountain View community alone. We have 2 super sites in this community alone, and numerous other hazardous companies. The gas companies the big tanks for the fuel, and a number of other things. There is some really good companies like next door, okay? But again, the biggest concern is how do we ensure that some of this stuff is going to be addressed? Because, like I said, even the city is having issues with contamination. And again, not so much their fault, but it's because it's residential, and this other, they're going to have commercial too, correct?
Commercial and municipal haulers.
Right. So, and I know it's just the transfer stations, but so is that. Well, in a sense. Okay, and all that stuff gets dumped, leaches into the ground. So how is that going to be addressed?
So the facility is part of their operations plan. One of the things they have to do is waste. They also have a waste inspection program, which is required by the operating permit of the New Mexico Environment Department, that defines that they have to inspect a certain number of vehicles that come in with the intent of finding any material that is not supposed to be disposed of through the facility, and that is regulated by the New Mexico Environment Department. They have facility inspectors, and yes, you're right, that there's always going to be trouble and things that show up that aren't supposed to be there, but these facilities have a contingency plan that defines if something shows up at the facility that is not allowed to be transferred there, they have a procedure where the material is taken out of the facility and quarantined, and then hauled to an appropriate facility that is permitted to accept that kind of waste. So there's procedures in place to address those kind of issues.
How often are the inspections?
It's usually done at 1% of vehicles or a minimum of 1 per day if the facility is.
So there will be inspectors on site
The
from the
facility is,
state?
no, this is done by the facility itself.
Oh, watch those clocks, watching things. We know that story.
What would keep,
Go ahead. Yes, sir.
sorry, what would keep, what is the site itself? How would it keep some of this stuff getting, when it rains or whatever, into into the surrounding area?
Sure. So the facility is where the waste is transferred. It's done inside a structure, and which has a concrete floor and a floor drain. So as part of their operations, they will be, you bring in a truck of solid waste, you dump it on the floor, you push it into the larger truck, and so part of of the operations will be adding small amounts of water to make sure that the dust is not generated, to ensure protection of their employees. And then, so most of that dust control water will go with the solid waste, will be transferred to the landfill. Anything that is excess will go to the drain, which goes to a tank, which has no leach field. It basically flows to the tank. The tank has a high-level alarm on it, so in the event that the water in that tank is approaching full, it'll have a visual alarm where it'll be hauled off and disposed of in accordance with laws. And since all the waste is transferred inside, there's very little potential that any solid waste will be on the ground outside the facility, except for wind-blown trash, which is, as we all know, is a problem at all transfer stations and landfills. And so it would be one of the things that they do as part of the operation plan to pick up wind-blown trash around the facility.
So will there be any liners outside of the facility?
It's given that all solid waste will be inside the facility on a concrete floor. The concrete floor itself acts as the line.
I understand that part, but as when you access the area, again, if you, again, being a lifetime resident here and utilizing, you will see trucks when they come in, while something coming out from the trucks themselves. And again, could be just water, could be paints, could be
So the facility is not permitted to accept any liquid waste at all. That's a requirement of the solid waste rules that govern how these facilities operate. So in the event there is liquid waste, the truck would be segregated on concrete, and basically the material would have to go to a different facility to be disposed of.
And I understand what you're saying. The thing is, like I've been saying, it's because it's residential, people throw everything in their trash. Oils, cooking oils, their car oils, and not so much that it's, the people that are trying to get this, but those things still get in there. Okay. That's our concern here, is when they start dumping it, when they're coming in. And like I said, almost every time I've ever gone to the dump, and like I said, it's residential, okay, you'll see trucks with liquid, coming out of the vehicles. And again, nobody has said it. Again, they've had numerous violations, the city has, because of some of the things that are taken to them. Not so much that they're doing wrong, but this is our main concern, especially since it's coming out of this area, and you are also having industrial waste going into that area. So again, those are the concerns that we're seeing here now. And we're trying to see, what's going to be different with the southern transfer station.
Well, I can't really address what's going on at the city's facility. What I do know is the requirements for the solid waste that comes to the facility is that it be dry, that it not be liquid waste, and they have an inspection program to detect if there is unapproved waste being deposited there, and they have a contingency plan to address if that happens.
Ms. Fernandez, did you have another question?
I did. I wanted to ask you, what are the plans for fire mitigation? These, waste streams catch fire. We see trash trucks driving around town on fire, don't we? What are the plans for fire mitigation?
So the operating permit includes the contingency plan, which includes all the steps that the facility will take to address hot loads and fires. And I apologize that I can't tell you exactly what those plans are. But I can
It wasn't in the application that I read online. I didn't see anything. I tried to read it carefully. Was there anything in there about that? I don't recall.
I think there was, but I will look.
I may need to look again. Thank you.
For those of you who are coming in newly, there's a sign-up sheet in the back, and if anyone would like a copy of the community impact, or the cumulative impact statement, there's some at the front desk here. Anyone else have any questions, comments, or mitigation ideas? Yes, in the front row, ma'am. Tell your name, please.
My name is
Are you with those guys in the
Okay, thank you.
First of all, because a lot of us came after you started your presentation, I was wondering if you could introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Scott McKittrick. I'm a principal scientist with Sauter Miller and Associates. We're under contract with Universal Waste Systems to prepare the solid waste facility operating permit and also this community impact assessment.
I'm Matt Earthman, I'm a geoscientist with Southern Associates, and I helped prepare the plans.
And I'm Michael Cadigan. I'm an attorney for Universal Waste Systems, and I had nothing to do with that.
All right, and I had a few questions. How do you use the word minor a lot? How do you describe it, quantify it? I know that's hard, but
It's really, it's subjective. It's a judgment call. It's if you can imagine.
Please repeat the question.
how do you define minor? That was a lot of talking about the impact of these various things.
And it's a subjective determination. For me, I think about what is the, in terms of air quality, what is a small impact going to be? What is a large impact? A large impact to me is a Title V air quality permit for a facility that's poorly operated. That's a large impact. This facility is a solid waste transfer station, which has the potential to generate dust and air quality impact on vehicles. But when I think about that, a minor impact, it's 244 vehicles coming in and going out of a facility from Broadway Boulevard, which has in excess of 10,000 vehicles traveling down it every day. So it's a matter of scale, and it is, as you imply, it's a subjective determination.
What route will these trucks take to get to the landfill?
I believe for Cerro, Colorado, they'd be driving north on Broadway and then Rio Bravo to Dennis Chavez. I believe that's the route they would take, so they would stay off the interstate. And then if they would be hauling south to an alternate landfill like Valencia or one of the ones down by Los Lunas, that would be south on Broadway and then getting on the freeway.
Because there's going to be a huge amount of construction on Rio Bravo in a second for, I don't know, a couple of years maybe. And that area is already really congested. I don't know how many more lanes they can put.
We can't hear what's being said back here at all.
I was saying that, the area, the Rio Bravo and 2nd Street area is very congested as it is. There's going to be a lot of construction. I'm not sure how many more lanes could be added, especially over the river. And so if most of the trucks are going from here to there, that's going to be, I think, a really problem with traffic congestion. And the final question was, how much water do you expect you will need to operate this facility over the course of the year?
It hasn't been quantified, but my estimate would be a relatively small amount because the only water use of the facility will be for dust control. And most of the roads are paved, And so the amount of water needed for dust control will be relatively small. I would guess 1,000 gallons a day or less. That's a guess, and nothing better than that. That's what I would expect.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, ma'am. Just tell us your name, please.
My name is Lucia Silva, and I just wanted to express my concern because my respiratory system is already compromised, as are other seniors in this community, and I have some great concerns about what's going to be released in our atmosphere, in our community, and I, for one, am not in agreement with this coming in. And I'm also concerned about vermin that may be attracted, that kind of stuff. I really don't want to see that coming in.
Any other questions, concerns, or mitigation ideas? Yes, in the front row. Yes, sir. Tell us your name.
My name is Peter Eschman. I've been a South Valley resident for over 50 years. My concern is you're basically importing garbage and trash from surrounding communities. You're talking about trash that's not currently handled by waste management or by the city. And I don't understand why we need to do that. Perhaps there's a business case for that facility. But realistically, if they're hauling trash, why don't they take it to Cerro, Colorado, to the landfill itself? And now I hear you talking about some of this waste going to other landfills besides that one. Is that in fact the case? So this is aggregating trash from many, many areas. Trash outside of our community is coming into the community in order to be reloaded and then moved someplace else. Is that a fair?
That's correct, yes. So basically, the idea being collection trucks that run on the surface streets collect the waste, bring it to one transfer station, and load it into larger trucks. So that way you have less trucks that are making the trip to the landfill. And most of the waste is likely to go to Cerro, Colorado. However, in the event that that landfill was closed because of high winds or some other problem, there's potential that the waste would go to a different landfill facility.
But these streets you're talking about are outside of Bernalillo County, where you have these trucks collecting waste.
Some in Bernalillo County, some potentially outside Bernalillo County, correct?
Well, I would argue that both of it's outside the county, since we already have waste management, and we already have city picking up trash. So the unincorporated part of the county is covered by waste management.
And so this facility will accept waste potentially from the city, potentially from waste management, potentially from other commercial haulers. So it's basically any commercial or municipal hauler with an account can bring waste here to be transferred to minimize the number of trucks that are hauling to the landfill.
Yes, ma'am. You just tell us your name, please.
So my name is Kathy Potts, and I want to know why I just heard about this for the first time last night, and this is all for the benefit of Universal Waste System. They're going to be the corporation that's benefiting from all this?
So when the permit application was deemed administratively complete, we did public notice of the submittal of that, and so it followed all the public notice requirements of the solid waste rules.
And where do you find these public notices anymore?
The requirements include mailing to properties within a certain radius of the facility, and notification on radio.
And what's the radius? What's the radius?
It's fairly small. Posting at, I believe, 8 locations in the community, and also the public notice was mailed to anybody who had told the Solid Waste Bureau that they were interested in getting it, or people who participated in the original permit process.
I thought neighborhood associations were supposed to be notified.
I'm pretty sure
No,
that,
we were not. No, we were not.
well, the permit application is online. It is possible to
That's
look and
absurd.
see.
How do you know where to go online if you don't know about it in the first place? It costs us $1,500 to do a mailing to residents of Mountain View. You guys can afford $1,500, a hell of a lot more than we can.
Ma'am, did you have a question? Yes.
My name is Jean Hooten. I'm a resident of Los Padillas, and I'm a member of the Los Padillas Neighborhood Association, so I'm kind of here on their behalf. And we are opposed to this new waste transfer station for all of the reasons we've been hearing this evening. My question is, why aren't there any Bernalillo County representatives here tonight?
Bernalillo County was given notice of this meeting. Certified.
And the company itself, you're all consultants, right? I would think the company would be here too. Where are they?
You get extra pay for this?
Any other questions or comments? Actually, let's have some of you guys have spoken. Yeah, ma'am, can you tell us your name?
I'm just standing up so folks can hear me. I have a question that goes a little bit different angle, but the same. What, did you use a community impact assessment model that's an industrial type base? Where did you pull this model from to even do this entire study? First of all, I got number one.
Sure. So the community impact assessment is defined by the New Mexico solid waste rules. But in the solid waste rules, the only facilities that are required by the rules to do a community impact assessment would be a landfill. So there's usually no provision in the rules for a transfer station to be required to do this community impact assessment. So, but the secretary deemed that it was important, and so he basically, in the order telling Universal Waste Systems that they needed to do this, he defined the items that would need to be addressed. In determining how it should be addressed, there's very little guidance in the world for a community impact assessment. So we looked at some that have been done for NMDOT projects,
From HUD,
housing, yeah, from HUD, and so we did our best to come up
There's
with.
one up here, done up here on Broadway, a number of years ago, when they wanted to put a transfer station in. An excellent HIA was done.
So HIA, I believe, is different than a CIA.
Well,
What was your name? Sorry.
I'm Magdalena Avila. Okay, along those lines, and thanks for pointing that out, Marta, is you look in the literature and throughout, there's a comprehensive amount of community impact assessments as well as health impact assessments. Sometimes they get, more than the same, albeit they can be different. Now, public health has an extensive amount, that's my field and that's my background. Because one of the things that I felt in doing a response to this is that the way it was carried out, and by the way, you guys go back a long way, as not you two gentlemen, but your company, found a report from the 1970s that had this very same company doing exactly what we're seeing now. And in a lot of language, it's the same from the 1970s.
It didn't exist in the 70s.
It has their name on it, maybe not, that report has their name on it, and I can submit it as evidence. But let me jump back real quick. In looking at this, what I found really, I think, troublesome in this community impact, albeit you say there isn't a set model for it, is that without, it tears apart the community with all of the areas to study that at the end, you don't even know you're looking at a community. It feels like this entity, in terms of the analysis and the study. And one part that particularly bothered me is the historical and cultural resources and the fact that the Townsend archaeological consultants which supposedly are qualified, they really separated the South Valley from the entity in Mountain View, from the holistic part. They made it so micro that it's even connected to anything else. And I have a serious critique on that because it's people who make the cultural element and create the cultural resources. We were so, it was robotic in the sense that our community is so torn apart, you don't even think there's kind of living entities creating the cultural atmosphere that we are trying to protect, which includes farming, not just cultural, but the whole farming and the lifestyle in the water.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, or ideas for mitigation? Yes, ma'am, in the blue box. Yes.
My name is Jeanette Gutierrez, and I live in the neighborhood as well. I'm just wondering, like this gentleman over there was asking, like, why? Why there? Why here? Why in the South Valley? Why this location? Why, what incentivized them to say, let's do it here? And you mentioned the secretary. What secretary said let's put this together?
So when I talked about the secretaries, the secretary of the New Mexico Environment Department, and as to why here, one reason is the zoning, which the light industrial M1 zoning allows for solid waste transfer stations to be built in that area. Beyond that, I can't answer that question.
No reason why they didn't consider the community, the people living here, right?
Jeanette, what was your last name, please?
Gutierrez.
Gutierrez. Thank you.
I'm also a resident, I've been here close to 30 years.
Let's see, yes, sir.
Yeah, so I have a couple of questions more. So what are the hours of operation for trucks to be driving around?
I believe facility personnel, the private vehicles will be arriving as early as 5:30, but the trucks,
6 to 6.
I believe it's, the majority of the traffic is going to be occurring in the morning hours after 7 o'clock, but I'll have to get an actual number. Apologize for that.
Your document actually says during hours of daylight. Now, there's a difference between summer daylight and winter daylight. Now, in your document, you say hours of daylight.
Probably a poorly written, probably a poor choice of words. I believe operations will be 6 to 6 with
That's what your
employees
document
starting,
says, hours of daylight.
and I apologize for that.
Well, the question that really is so important is where is all this trash coming from? It indicated at one point 6 counties. You're going to be trashed from 6 counties. I was involved in this Solid Waste Act when it was passed by the state legislature. We testified before the state legislature with a friend of ours, attorney, may he rest in peace now, and by a bunch of community testified to pass the Solid Waste Act the way it is today. Nonetheless, there's a certain limitations as to where those solid waste transfer stations and dumping can take place. So what we really need to know is where is all this trash coming from? Is it still 6 counties, or where is it coming from?
There's potential that it could be, basically, it's going to be coming from nearby counties. And the actual number, I can't tell you off the top of my head.
Nearby counties, that's all you can tell us.
In the permit application, there is a list of counties. At this moment, I can't tell you if it was.
And again, the question is, why here? The reason why here is a little transportation over here that we did not fight. We accommodated everybody for the transportation that's already here on Broadway. And now you want to expand it to 6 counties or God knows what?
800 to 1,200 tons.
121,000 tons daily, or 12,000?
800 to 1,200 tons per day.
1,200 tons a day.
Based on how many counties? 6 counties.
It says 6 counties in the permit.
Okay. I believe
I
it.
can pull the list.
The waste may be coming from up to 6 counties. We were not trying to imply that all the waste from 6 counties is coming in this
What
transfer.
does the permit allow for?
The permit allows for waste to come from any place that somebody wants to haul it from to bring it to the transfer
And
station.
how does that affect the number of trucks?
Number of trucks is as we described, and the limits were gonna be 800 to 1,200 tons per day will be allowed to come into the facility.
That's a lot of fun.
So what were the hours again?
I believe 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay. And reason why I say is that they would probably be coming off Rio Bravo, trying to turn onto Broadway to access this yard, correct?
They'll be coming from both directions.
Okay,
The
the
collection
reason being
direction.
is from 3 to at least 6, there's traffic all the way back up past the freeway. So this is going to impact the delivery time of your trucks to these sites. And second of all, why was property not seeked on the other side close? There's three main dump sites on that side of the river. Why was property not looked at there, which would, again, be closer to the landfills for the big trucks versus this little place over here?
I can't address that, besides to tell you that it was zoned appropriately for this type of a facility.
Because I know that there's zoning out that way too, down by Pajarito Mesa, all those places. There's a lot of area. And again, there's actually an industrial dump site for industrial waste down in Pajarito Mesa. And then again, everything on that side is where all the big dumps are. And it just seems like it would have made more sense to look at it over there versus having to go through all of this stuff to make it go over there. And again, the traffic here, and everybody's thinking, well, it's probably because of the construction on Rio Bravo. No, it's that way every day. On 2nd Street, you can count on 15 minutes to get from here to the light every day at those hours. So again, maybe you might want to look at trying to look over there.
Other questions, comments, or mitigation ideas?
What does BTS stand for on here?
Broadway Transfer Station.
Oh, thank you.
Good question back. Yes, Ms. Fernandez?
Will it be operating 7 days a week or what?
6 days a week.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
6 days a week.
6 days a week, but that means, do I assume that Sundays? are
Sunday's
exempt?
not. Monday through Saturday.
Monday through Saturday, thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Yeah, the question about the 244 vehicles entering and exiting the facility each day. Is that based on the 800 tons, or is that value going to go up? At the maximum processing capacity of 1,200 tons.
That's based on 1,200 tons per day.
It's based on 1,200. Okay. Thank you.
Marla, got a question.
Okay, so my apologies for the late notice. As you can see, I'm not well and I just didn't get to it until last night. I do want to say, in terms of some process questions, they didn't make their deadline. We were notified not within the 30-day legal period. The neighborhood associations were not notified at all. And I'm with Mountain View Community Action. We work very closely with Mountain View Neighborhood Association. Genevieve, the president, is there. I'm sure she has other things to offer. Our lawyer informed these people way ahead of time that she would not be able to make it to tonight's meeting, and asked them to please adjust the meeting date so that she could be here, because believe me, she has a lot to say. So she's not here tonight. And also you all need to know that the county building permit is for a 15,000 square foot facility. They are now proposing a 25,000 square foot facility. And we don't have any kind of guarantee, for instance, that the amount of trucks coming from those 6 counties will actually be sending that amount of trash. And we don't know if the permit will limit it to that amount of trash. Are your trucks going to have GPSs on them so that you know where they are?
I can't answer that.
Because I can tell you that there are a lot of road trucks in this neighborhood. They will take Prosperity, they will take Desert Road, they will take that little street that you get off of when you get off onto Rio Bravo off the freeway. These streets will probably all have your trucks on them, and they are not made for that. And we have children in these streets, and some of them have died. We are going to have, I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. As has been mentioned before, this is already an overburdened area. This is the worst place to put this facility for our health and well-being. And how do you know that the number of trucks coming from 6 counties will be the amount that you state in the permit? If you go over that, but you have businesses that want to use your facility, will you reapply for a new permit?
I think in the event that the facility wanted to accept more than 1,200 tons per day, they would be required to modify their permit, which would
Okay.
take in another procedure like the one we're going through now.
Okay. So I just want to say that if you were really interested in notifying the neighborhoods and the neighbor associations, you would have done so. And again, $1,500 is nothing for you guys. It's a lot for us to notify every address in the neighborhood. And your way of notifying the public, totally inadequate. It just doesn't cut the mustard at all. I think that's all I have to say. But I just want you all to know that this is not a legal meeting.
I want to agree. The first I heard about this meeting was when Marla sent an email yesterday. That's the first time that I think I was aware of this date. That's nowhere near 30 days, is it?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Lonnie Fredman again, and I wanted to share that I've lived here for 38 years, but I also wanted to formally object to the fact that Universal Waste Systems staff is not here. Because that seems like we're talking to the consultants, we should be talking to the people from the facility that are trying to operate this facility.
And the county.
And the county, for sure.
Maybe you could do another meeting and bring all the relevant people to the table so we can confront them and ask questions of them. It seems like this community deserves that, very, very minimum. You know, if they decide to put a cell tower in the South, well, okay, I work with the South Valley Coalition of Neighborhood Associations. We get certified letters for, if they're putting up a cell tower, if they decide to put a generator for backup power on a cell tower, I get a certified letter about it. And I received nothing from this. We heard about it from the president of Mountain View Neighborhood Association. And thank goodness that they reached out, but it shouldn't be that way. I just can't imagine it's something this is big, and I think that the community deserves to know. And we are organized into neighborhood associations and have a coalition, and yet we heard nothing. I just don't understand.
I just want to point out, if there will be other meetings regarding this, and if anybody wants to get a particular notice, please make sure that your email address or mailing address is on the sign-in sheet, and please write legibly, because we did send emails to all of the people who left emails at the last meeting in, April of last year. Some of the email addresses were not legible, so please write your email addresses legibly. Yes, other questions? Mr. Silva.
Para las personas que no hablan inglés, siéntanse libres de presentar sus cosas que piensan ustedes. Sus ideas son muy importantes 86% de la población aquí son de español, solo que siéntanse libres de dar su testimonio aquí también, en cualquier momento pueden decir lo que quieren, aunque sean en español, because we will have translators to speak Spanish here, because 80%, 81% in your document says that people are Spanish certain in this community. We know that it's between 80 and 86%. Porque queremos que nuestra comunidad pueda participar efectivamente, that we want the rest of the community to participate effectively, and this is not community by itself. A lot of people here are able to speak English very well and very concerned. I appreciate everyone that came out today, but in the future we'll have a much more bigger meetings if we're going to continue with this. It's so convenient that we already accommodated everyone with the transportation that's already on Broadway. We don't need a bigger one. We don't need, and the reason that it's being expanded to this tremendous size of 86 counties is because it's a racist policy that has determined that you can dump whatever the hell you want in Mountain View. We already got enough trash, we've got contamination, we've got issues, we've got lawsuits, and we will continue to resist.
Any other comments, questions, or mitigation ideas? Yes, ma'am, in the back. And I'm sorry, I'll come back to you. Yes.
My name is Kathy Caffrey. I've lived in the South Valley for 60 years, and I apologize. I have allergies and it's causing me to cough, so I forgive that. But I'm new to all of this. Again, I just found out about it, but reading in here, it says a property has an approved special use permit, and it gives a date for when that was drawn. Is this the company that drew that special use permit?
Yes.
And were we notified of that? Were there meetings for that? You just put up the sign in the area, but no one passes, you can get to it?
Bernalillo County had a meeting regarding that, and public notice was published.
So you keep saying it's zoned properly, so that's why it's here, but it's only zoned properly because it is a special use permit, correct?
Not. It's more complicated than that. The background zoning, being a manufacturing zoning, allows uses like this. Bernalillo County required a specific special use permit for this specific type of industrial use.
So you've been working on this since 2019?
I don't remember the year.
That says when
yeah.
it was pulled.
That may be correct. I don't remember the year that the special use permit was approved.
And again, it was for a 15,000 square foot facility.
So I believe it was during COVID.
Huh?
It was during COVID.
Yeah,
I
no,
believe.
yeah,
So it was completely under the radar as far as most of us
yeah.
could see.
We never received a notice as a neighborhood association.
So the president, I'm forgetting your name.
Genevieve.
Genevieve, sorry, Genevieve Mitchell. Yes.
Mr. Kerrigan, when will the other meetings be, and will there be a hearing?
I don't know the answer to that question.
So there aren't going to be other meetings as far as you know?
I don't know. It's up to the Environment Department and the hearing officer.
So we don't know?
Is anybody here from the Environmental Department?
No.
Who's here from Universal Waste?
Nobody.
Or the county.
I'm their attorney, and these are their consulting engineers.
Pardon me?
I'm their attorney, and these gentlemen are their consulting engineers.
What's your name again?
I'm here from the Environment Department.
And so am I.
Danielle Barragali.
We're just here listening.
Can you tell us your positions?
There will be a hearing.
Can you tell us what your positions are in the Environment Department?
What our positions are?
What is your job?
So my job is to make sure that the application is complete in accordance with our solid waste rules. That is my job. So I compare their application to what the rules require, and I make sure that they match. So that is my job.
That's Danielle Barradelli. She's been through in this process, as have I. My name's Tatiana Engelman. I'm an assistant general counsel for the Environment Department. And I've been on this since the beginning, since the permits are.
And you're aware that we didn't receive adequate notice of this meeting?
Genevieve, did you have any other questions?
I have some comments.
Okay.
Stand up here so everyone can hear. Yeah. First, I'd like to say thank you for having this meeting. Thank you to the Environment Department for making sure that we will have a hearing, and I do hope that we have adequate notice so that we can let the entire neighborhood know. There was a hearing, for those of you who don't know, last April. There was some discussion about whether or not there was adequate notice then. We had a smaller group than this because nobody knew about it. So I hope that we'll get more participation. I also hope that Broadway Transfer Station will consider sending a postcard out to every neighborhood or every address in this neighborhood so that they can get that kind of response, that everyone knows what's happening. I did get an email, Mr. Cadigan, from you stating this meeting was happening, but no link to the CIS. Ostensibly, this meeting is to review this. But if you didn't get a copy of it, how can you review it so we can give you comments back? I do hope that we will have adequate time to review this and have a way to have it available online to the neighborhood so that they can review it at their leisure. You also knew that Nancy Simmons, our legal counsel, was unavailable. And in spite of knowing that with adequate notice, you put together a meeting here. And we don't have legal counsel because you knew she was going to be out of town. It doesn't seem to me like you're really wanting our input. And I would like to say to the consultants and to you, I hope that you will take back to the owners of Universal Waste Systems who are not here to tell them that we would like to see a change that says maybe down from 6 counties to 2 so that we don't end up with 6 counties worth of waste in here. 2 would be Bernalillo County and Valencia because we're so close. Maybe that makes sense. The rest of it doesn't make any sense at all. We're an already overburdened community. There is already traffic issues. We are concerned about children's health and elders' health and respiratory issues and toxicity. That was not fully addressed in the community impact statement. We would like you to reconsider this permit, and I hope that you will take that back to the owners of Universal Waste Systems. Thank you.
Jenny, I don't want to argue with you, but I will just make this one quick point. Your attorney told me when she was going to be in Florida, and I scheduled this meeting 2 days after she told me she was going to be back in Albuquerque. And it's my understanding, she filed something with the Court of Appeals saying she's back now. So she is here today. I mean,
she is in a hearing today and cannot be present.
We scheduled it around her availability. Thank you. Any other questions, comments, or mitigation ideas? Any other questions, comments, or mitigation ideas? Yes,
I
ma'am.
want to understand how you can predict or know the tonnage of waste that's going to come in and how you would stop, like, say, 2 or 10 trucks coming, you say you're at your limit. I mean, is that something that might happen, especially under 6 counties?
Can I just point out, the permit will have a limit of tonnage, whether the waste comes from Farmington or Bernalillo
I know, but how are
County,
you
it'll be
going to
limited. by
measure
that.
the tonnage for a day or whatever period of time? Do you have a weigh station or?
Yes.
Scales.
So you're going to turn away trucks? I mean, that could be, I'm trying to get to.
some other concerns that we have, it includes the vermin. We're going to have a lot of strong odors, the smell of garbage in our community. We're going to have a lot of flies and other kinds of vermin that will be here. We're talking about rats and other kind of contaminants. So that's enough. We've had enough. We have enough already. I'll put it here. Let the other counties put it in their own counties because it's their trash.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So just real quick, is there going, do you guys have a list of the industrial waste or the companies that are going to be using this company so that we can at least see what kind of industrial waste, if it's medical, if it's just construction?
Right, let me be real clear, there was some disclarity on this before. The only type of waste that can be deposited here is household residential waste. Construction, commercial, medical, not allowed under this permit. It is commercial. It's commercial haulers of residential waste. So corporations that haul waste from homes, not commercial waste like medical, construction, etc. You have to have a special type of permit.
Because that makes a lot of difference. That's not what we were told before, that there was going to be industrial waste. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Why don't they consolidate their waste in their own counties?
To be realistic, the chances of waste coming from counties other than Valencia and Bernalillo is very small, because it does not make economic sense to take waste from Grant County or Roosevelt County, drive it to Albuquerque, and put it here. The cost of the diesel to get from there to here does not make sense. However, it is theoretically possible that in the event that the Roosevelt County landfill can no longer be operated, it might, on a very limited occasion, come here. But the vast majority of this waste will come from this community, primarily Bernalillo County and Valencia County. And can we say, oh, we're only going to bring it from those counties? No, but does it make sense for somebody to bring their trash from Farmington or Las Cruces to here? No, it does not. And people don't do what doesn't make sense financially.
Well, then why do you have it in the permit?
Because it's theoretically possible, number one, and the Environment Department limits it by weight, not by origin. As long as it's household trash and it's under the weight limit, the Environment Department doesn't discern between waste from Roosevelt County, Catron County, and Bernalillo County. It's the same stuff. So it does not matter to the Environment Department. Sir?
What about trash coming in by rail? Is that going to be accepted at this facility?
I can't think of any rail conduit that goes there. I don't believe that's part of
But if
this.
it came in by rail and was transloaded into a commercial truck, then it could go to this facility.
Theoretically possible, but waste transfer, I don't know whether.
Well, you were
let
talking
me put
about
it
the
this way,
cost
the
of
permit does not
diesel.
have any exclusions against rail that I know of. However,
Exactly.
what it limits is by tons. So whether it comes by rail or truck, it's limited to the tonnage.
Well, you were speaking about the cost of diesel. That's out of the question if you're bringing in stuff by rail. It's a totally different economic cost to move stuff by rail than it is by truck. So it could come by rail, get loaded into the trucks, and then go to this facility.
I mean, theoretically, but highly unlikely. Any other questions, comments, or mitigation ideas? Yes, ma'am?
What are the 6 counties named, or it could be any 6 counties? I know, I understand your point about it not making sense to come in exclusive stuff.
It's in the permit application. I'm afraid I don't remember which are
Are
the
they
6.
adjacent?
Sorry?
Are they adjacent?
I think so, but I don't remember. Yes, in the back there, yes, ma'am.
About the trucks, will they just be like a tractor and a trailer, or is it gonna be like some of those big rigs you see be on the interstate with a tractor and 2 trailers. Because that makes a big difference as far as crossing traffic and being safe and those kinds of things. Do you have any idea about that?
It'll be a semi-tractor with a single trailer.
Single trailers?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Marlon, did you have another question?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that, I think it was when the Secretary of the Environment first was appointed. He came to your house, talked to our neighbors, members, and said that, and made a vow, and correct me if I'm wrong, that he would do everything in his power to make sure that Mountain View did not receive any more of the brunt of the waste in this community, of the waste in the state, and that we would not be any further overburdened than we already are. I just wonder where that vow went. Up in smoke somehow?
Secretary Kenny?
Pardon?
The current secretary?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. I don't know, maybe Otto or Magdalena can say something more about that. Maybe. That was the basic gist, correct?
Well, that was the basic, the rest of it, they understood what the situation was here in Mountain View, that we've been subjected to all kinds of industrial pollution, and this is another form of pollution that we're having to deal with. And they said that they would do everything they could to prevent that from continuing to happen. And then lo and behold, we have somebody with the NMED, Environmental Department, pushing forward something like this. This is very outrageous and very unprincipled. And it's my concern that it may be illegal. I'm a retired attorney, but I'm not representing anyone here as an attorney.
Other questions, comments, or mitigation ideas? Nothing else? Yes, yes, sir. Tell me your name if you would.
I feel moved, it's not a question, but a comment. Because I cannot comment on the particulars of the plan. As has been mentioned, the lack of notice. So I'm only going to comment on the process. And from my perspective, this process has been meant to evade accountability. And so you want comments, but there's just, you're doing bad things because you can do it legally. And you're trying to force it down the community's throat. So sit with that, go live your terrible lives, you're bad people. But that's my comment.
Do you mind telling me your name
No,
if you
sir.
don't want to? Sorry. What was your name,
My
sir?
name is Patrick Harvey.
Patrick Harvey. Anything else?
That was pretty much it.
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
what is the comment on?
Just a quick comment, and there's several people in this room that are old enough to remember, and I'm one of them, when all of these junkyards were up on South Eubank. And then they wanted to start developing South Eubank, so they looked around to see who the poorest community was that was probably not going to fight them very well because they didn't have the resources. This is just another example.
And we have ordinances, but we don't have enforcement. And this is another example of the fox guarding the hen house. There will be no enforcement. None of these promises will necessarily be enforced. And we all need to be aware of that as well, because we see it happening every day. Fires, releases, they pile it as high as they want, they're salvaged, and there's nobody to tell them not to do that anymore. They're supposed to have fences, they're supposed to have vegetation. Nobody holds anybody accountable down here, and they won't hold them accountable up there either, and that with that facility. That's guaranteed.
I wanted to know if this is going to be recorded. Is there being documented, everything that anybody said here today? Is there a transcript or something that you have that's going to be provided so that we have a documentation of what everybody said?
So I'm recording it. There's a gentleman over here who's recording it. I noticed that you're recording it. I'm making notes.
My recording doesn't work the damn.
We've had two.
I'm trying to pick up people that are close to me, but I can't pick up people's other comments over on the other side of the room. I'm surprised that you don't have a recording system here so that everybody's testimony was recorded. Unless we want to wasting our time talking to flatten our jaws.
We are.
I would just like to say again, I think the advent of 240 trucks in the neighborhood on a daily basis is absurd because it's hard enough to get around with all the trucks that come through now.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
I have a question for the gentleman from the consulting company as well. You asked about mitigations and from what you've heard, I mean, do you have any ideas for mitigations of our concerns?
The purpose of this meeting is to get your mitigation ideas. So that's why I keep asking for mitigation. Is there any mitigation that you folks would like to see?
Yeah, we'd like to see it put someplace else. That would be great.
I got that one. Any others?
Oh, you did, okay, you got that, okay.
Yes. Okay. Any other suggestions, ideas, mitigations, comments, complaints, questions? Yes, ma'am.
There's a sector plan being developed for this area. A lot of these people are involved in that as well. I would suggest that you look through that. It's not finalized yet, but that's what this community wants. It would be wise to look through that and see what kinds of things the area wants or doesn't want.
Yes, Genevieve.
I'd like to ask that Mountain View Community Action and Mountain View Neighborhood Association be allowed to be a party to this, this proceeding. We have requested and requested and requested, and we've been denied and denied and denied. So I'm saying that to the NMED staff as well as you.
Universal Waste and the New Mexico Environment Department have consented to Mountain View being a party to this permit application.
When were we notified?
When were we notified of that?
Your lawyer, I sent it to your lawyer. Your lawyer has had that for 6 months.
No, you're very wrong about that.
Okay.
What?
Because I have been fighting us to be a party to that was sent 6 months ago.
You like to ask?
No, you have been fighting us.
Universal Waste and the New Mexico Environment Department have, in writing, filed with the Secretary of the Environment, consented to Mountain View being a party to this permit application.
So why at the hearing, were we not allowed to speak as a party?
Well, let's see, Mountain View did speak extensively at the first hearing. They were not a party because the hearing officer ruled that you were not a party. However, after that, we consented to Mountain View
If
becoming.
we were a party, why don't we get any notification?
Mountain View did get notification of this meeting.
Wrong.
I have a signed postcard with your signature
For
on it
the last one, but not for the first
for
one.
this one today.
This one, yes, not for the earlier ones.
All right. Any other questions, comments? If not, I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. Oh, one more in the back. Yes, sir. And you don't mind telling me your name if you would.
Javier Barraza. And I'm here on behalf of the Local Venus Institute. Most folks may know Los Feliz, we're a small garden organization in South Valley. I guess my first question for you gentlemen on the front is, and potentially for NMED and EHD who's in the room, is what research, so we obviously have a waste issue in the country and in our city, which is why part of your argument is that there's a lot of waste, we need somewhere to put it. Where is the larger research on what we do to deal with this issue? Because what we also have research from, which isn't in here, in your environmental justice section, is that waste facilities create negative health and economic outcomes. So where's that in here? Secondly, where's the research from NMED, EHD, and most importantly you, because you all particularly are at the lead of this industry, are leading the innovations supposedly. So where's the innovation and the outlook to address this issue of communities coming together and doing this all over the country, because they do this at every one of your hearings. So where is your intent on trying to assess the larger issue and actually have an outlook that's sustainable and actually starts to just voice outright rather than try to, we all play each other, which doesn't feel good. We'd rather all respect each other as people and actually try to address the issue because we're interested in waste management and natural systems management and dealing with our issues. But where's the real conversation around, hey, we know this isn't a work, This isn't a solution that's long-term. We know that. The best science says that. So what are we doing to address the issue? And that's what's not in here. And that is an unacceptable compromise in today's context, in today's era, and in this community. At the bare minimum, the mitigation measures and assurances that your proposal should have provided the type of outlook that gives insight to the climate situation, the economic situation, the social situation, so you can say, hey, we're going to be the best waste systems on the planet, and we want to come to your neighborhood. But all you bring is bare minimum and cards that get played all the time. And so that's what's unfortunate, is that I think folks here would really be open to you moving in if you were actually moving in with the intent to meaningfully transform the waste industry. In fact, we probably collaborate with EHD and NMED. But the reason we don't do that is because that's not what this says. This says business as usual, with a little EJ on top. And that's not okay. And so what are you all doing? What research do you do? What efforts are you underway? How do we create a waste system that works for us and our planet? That's the question I would like to know if you all are working on, or if you know UWS is working on, and what kind of effort does that look like, and what kind of budget item are we talking about?
I'm just going to respond to two things. Number one, the entire idea of a transfer station is to reduce the number of trucks driving from our community to Cerro Colorado landfill, which is how many miles away?
40
40-mile
round trip.
It's a 40-mile round trip from Cerro Colorado. So what's happening now is all of those blue trucks that service the houses are driving from your house to Cerro Colorado. The idea of this is to have them bring the trash to one central place and have one large truck take 3, 4, 5 small truckloads and make one round trip. So the idea, it's a business. So the idea is to save diesel gas, and by saving diesel gas, it reduces emissions. So this does have and that's in the report, this has a net positive carbon impact on climate change and greenhouse gas. So that is the primary net positive impact there. Secondly, at the last meeting that we had on this, the owner of the company got up and said that he was committed to doing CNG, compressed natural gas vehicles, when they're commercially available. The problem is, number one, CNG is very hard to come by, and number two, CNG vehicles are hard to come by. And so this company is committed to transitioning, when it's commercially available, to CNG. But they can't transition until the people who manufacture these vehicles make them available. And the fueling facilities are available, and they're not available today. But that's their future commitment.
Thank you for that response.
Thank you.
And I think the point here still is to be had, right? So you're saying there's a full GHG count in here on what's going to be reduced as far as emissions?
You said there's a what, sorry?
Greenhouse gas emission count.
Correct. It's in the report, yes.
Okay, and then the second part you added around this, can you restate your second point?
The company is committed to transitioning to natural gas vehicles.
Sorry. Do you know about the liquid natural gas facility that community members, including some in this room, asked to not locate in their community?
I do not know about that, no.
Well, that's an important context for the economic factors of seeing the viability of that technology that the owner is interested in, and the owner should be aware, which NMED is very well aware of, and I know EHD is a little bit as well, that we're not interested in liquid natural gas facilities in our community either. We want the best of the best, like many communities who don't have trash facilities in their community have. And we understand that we have a big trash issue, but just picking on the community, like was said earlier by members in this room, who have some of the, at least perceived, least available defenses, that is a perception, not a reality. That's not okay. And so I think there's larger discussions, and NMED, I hope this is an encouragement for you with Love and with EHD to actually start those conversations. We have a waste issue across the nation. It's not just in Mexico. Not only this, we have radioactive waste. We have radioactive water waste. We have a lot of issues. Let's just talk about them and deal with them for real, long-term vision, because we're not interested in the old solutions, and we're working hard on other ones, and we want to do it amicably. So that's the point.
Thank you.
Yes.
Other
One
questions,
more
Mark?
point. is going to be a problem when the new, how many lanes is Rio Bravo? Is Rio Bravo a county road or a state road?
State
State. It'll be 6 lanes.
All right, and then they're all going to have to merge into the bridge, which is not going to have 6 lanes.
You know, I'm not sure if we're going to.
Yes, I believe it is.
I think it's going to be a 6-lane bridge.
But it's a 3-year construction project.
Yeah, it's got to be year and year. The funding's not even in the
Right, right. So for a long time, we're going to have a gridlock. And those trucks idling, that gridlock could very well make up for whatever overall countywide health is going to do, our overall countywide greenhouse gases. So I don't know why you guys didn't look at that. Are you aware of the fact that there's going to be a major gridlock on Rio Bravo? People trying to go over the bridge.
I think that's addressed in there.
And I think that needs to be looked at, and that's going to be quite a while.
Yes, sir.
Is there any kind of recycling that this company's thinking about doing at this site?
No.
Why not?
Well, because recycling requires a different permit, and recycling has its own environmental challenges. I'll leave it at that. Any other questions, comments, or mitigation ideas? If not, I want to thank everybody for coming. There is likely to be another meeting. It will be noticed in accordance with New Mexico Environment Department regulations. And again, if you'll leave your legible email address or mailing address, we will get you an email or a notification by mail. Genevieve?
Can we get an assurance that the information will be available online? Like,
Well,
how can we respond to this if we can't access it?
I guess one of the problems is where would it be online? If you want to put it on your neighborhood association online, on your
No, I want you to make it available to the neighborhood.
I don't have a website that the neighborhood can go to. The Environment Department puts onto their website the materials that the law requires them to put on. I understand that it would be great if there was some central website where everything would be, but I don't know what that is.
Well, I'd like you to figure that out.
So it's not the consulting firm that this can't go on the website.
I doubt that members of the community who are not here tonight have ever heard of Souda Miller to go look for their website. But we're happy to, and in fact, if you guys have ideas of where we could post things like this, the meeting notice does have my email on it, so you can email me. So send me an email and tell me where else you would like it to be posted.
We want you to mail postcards to everybody who has an address in this neighborhood.
I'll put that down as an idea. I can't commit to that, but I understand what you're saying. Anything else? If not.
And I would like acknowledgement from the Environment Department that both of the neighborhood associations here are parties.
Ma'am, I can't do that. If this is just a public meeting, I can acknowledge that the applicant and NMED gave to your attorney consent that you guys become parties when she became your attorney before she filed the docketing statement, if I recall correctly. It was before she filed the docketing statement, we said, you know what? We will withdraw our objection to both of the community associations as parties. We told her that in an email. I think we even withdrew there was some official withdrawal of it. So that was done. That's what I can speak to.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. One last, yes, sir.
Yeah, no. I looked at the GHG report on the last page. Sorry, it took me a while. It's kind of small. If particulate matter would be really great. We know that's going to be a major concern for solid waste. We know it's a major concern for trucks with tires that have to brake, especially down a hill or up a hill. The other thing we don't see is black carbon, right? One of the things you may not be aware of is we have an air monitoring network in this community, assessing all 6 national ambient air quality standards, along with several other air pollutants that aren't air quality standards according to the NAAQS, such as particulate matter 1, ultrafine, as well as other volatile organic compounds. So we are doing that kind of research, and we'd love to see a more robust analysis. Let's get full spectrum, gentlemen, when we're talking about GHGs, right? Let's look at the real impact of what we're looking at, because that's what we want. We want the best available control technologies, and that starts with the assessment. So it'd be great to see some of that from the trucks, because we know that that data is out there. And there are some amazing engineering principles around working with communities that are long founded, 2 decades in the making, including green chemistry principles. And if you haven't looked those up, I recommend them. There's an extensive set of literature, probably enough pages to fill this room up, around how to engage communities effectively, meaningfully, and authentically. So I encourage you all to check out that research and the extensive publications that are available to us all to check out. Thank you so much.
Thank you. If there's nothing else, we'll adjourn for the night. Thank you so much for coming out. Appreciate it.